Okay, let's look at 3 problems where we're adding or subtracting decimals. Okay, first thing I want to do, I want to have you get in the habit of doing this. First, look for minus a negative anywhere in these 3 problems and get rid of that first. Okay, the only problem here I see minus a negative is the middle one. So before I do anything else, I'm going to take that minus a negative and make that plus a positive. Okay, so that's the only place I see that going on in the 3 problems. Okay, just in the middle. The minus a negative needs to turn into plus a positive. Okay, so now we can carry on. The first problem is a negative 4.58 minus 3.5. But we're going to think of that as a negative 4.8 and a negative 3.5. Okay, so we have 2 numbers with the same sign. And when we have 2 numbers with the same sign, we're going to add and keep the sign the same. Okay, so I want to take 4.58 and 3.5 and add them and make sure the answer remains negative. Okay, but when I add 4.58 to 3.5, I need to make sure that decimal point is lined up. Okay, so I need to write it 4.58, 3.5. That point needs to be right underneath the other one. And I know a lot of students like to put in a 0 if there's like an extra digit at the end. So we're going to add these up. 8 plus 0 is 8. 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 4 plus 3 plus 1 is 8. And keep the decimal point lined up in your answer. So 4.58 plus 3.5 is 8.08. But we said we need to keep the sign the same. So our final answer is negative 8.08. Okay, the second problem, we have a negative 4.58 added to a positive 3.5. Okay, so these have a different sign. So we're going to subtract them and keep the bigger sign. Okay, so we're going to take 4.58 minus the 3.5, keeping our decimal points lined up. Okay, again, we can stick a 0 at the end. Okay, so 4.58 minus 3.5. 8 minus 0 is 8. 5 minus 5 is 0. Keep the decimal point lined up underneath the decimal points in the problem. 4 minus 3 is 1. Okay, so we got 1.08. Okay, so we subtracted because the signs were different, but now we need to keep the sign of the bigger number. Okay, well, 4.58 in terms of absolute value, 4.58 is bigger than 3.5. So we need to keep the sign of our answer negative. So our final answer is negative 1.08. Okay, last one. We have 4.58 plus a negative 3.5. Okay, notice in this problem, the signs are different again. So we need to subtract again and keep the sign of the bigger number again. Well, so really, we're going to take 4.58 minus 3.5, which will give us 1.08, just like before, keeping the decimal points lined up. Okay, the only thing different about this problem than the middle problem is that the bigger sign in this problem is a positive. So we need to make sure the answer remains a positive 1.08. Okay, so what we did in all three problems, well, first we changed minus a negative to plus a positive in the middle. Okay, but then after that, if we had the same sign like the first problem, we added and kept the sign the same, keeping the decimal points lined up. In the second two problems, because in both of those two problems, they have different signs, we subtracted, okay, keeping our decimal points lined up, we subtracted and we kept the sign of the bigger number. Okay, please do your best on these. Let me know if you have questions or concerns.